Africa's longest-serving presidents have held onto power for many years and show no signs of stepping down anytime soon. In the world of politics, nothing is ever set in stone. This is especially true in Africa, where power transfer from one leader to the next can often be chaotic and violent. Let's look at some of the longest-serving presidents on the African continent and examine how power has changed hands throughout history. Are you ready? Let's dig in. 7 Africa's longest-serving presidents. Number 7. Isaias Afwerki. Isaias Afwerki has been the president of Eritrea for 27 years. He first came to power in 1991 after leading the country's independent movement from Ethiopia. Afwerki has since been re-elected twice. Under Afwerki's rule, Eritrea has become one of the world's most repressive and isolated countries. The government controls all aspects of society, and the country can be compared to a police state. Political opponents are routinely jailed or killed, and there is no freedom of the press. Eritrea is also one of the world's most militarized countries, with all able-bodied citizens required to serve in the military. This has led to a mass exodus of Eritreans, with many fleeing the country for safety and opportunity elsewhere. Number 6. Idris Deby. Idris Deby has been the president of Chad for 31 years. He first came to power in 1990 after leading a rebellion against the military government. Deby has since been re-elected 5 times until his assassination in April 2021. Under Deby's rule, Chad became one of the world's poorest and most corrupt countries. Violence also plagued the country, with rebel groups constantly fighting for government control. In recent years, the conflict in Chad has spilled over into neighboring countries such as Cameroon and the Central African Republic. Deby was accused of human rights abuses, including the torture and killing of political opponents. In 2010, the International Criminal Court indicted him for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Number 5. Yoweri Museveni. Yoweri Museveni has been the president of Uganda for 34 years. He first came to power in 1986 and has since been re-elected 3 times. Museveni is the 3rd oldest head of state in Africa at age 78. Under Museveni's rule, Uganda has become one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The country has also made strides in reducing poverty and improving healthcare and education. However, critics say Museveni has become increasingly authoritarian over the years, stifling dissent and curtailing civil liberties. In recent years, there has been call for term limits in Uganda, but Museveni has resisted these efforts. In 2017, he amended the constitution to remove the president's age limit, effectively allowing him to stay in power for life. Number 4. Denis Sassou Nguesso. Denis Sassou is also one of Africa's longest-serving presidents. He has been the president of the Republic of Congo for 36 years. He first came to power in 1979 and has since been re-elected 3 times. Sassou is currently among the oldest head of states in Africa at age 79. Sassou was accused of corruption and human rights abuses during his office. In 2016, they estimated him to have a personal fortune of $600 million, making him one of the richest presidents in Africa. His over 3 decades in power have attracted criticism and allegations from corruption to poor governance and human rights violations. However, to him, that has never been reason enough to call it quits. Number 3. Jose Eduardo dos Santos. Jose Eduardo dos Santos also makes it to our list of the longest serving African presidents, having been in power for 38 years. He was the president of Angola from 1979 to 2017. Dos Santos was accused of corruption and human rights abuses during his office. Under his rule, Angola became one of the most unequal countries in the world, with much of the population living in poverty. Dos Santos has been criticized for using his position to enrich himself and his family. It remains to be seen how his departure will impact the country of Angola. Number 2. Paul Biya. The second president on our list is Paul Biya of Cameroon. Paul Biya is one of the oldest presidents in Africa. Born on the 13th of February 1933, he has served as a Cameroonian president since the 6th of November 1982. Paul Biya is the second Africa's longest serving president and the longest non-royal serving leader in the world. President Biya came to power in a coup d'etat and has ruled the country ever since. In the early years of his rule, he was known for being a repressive leader. He oversaw a government responsible for the torture and killings of political opponents. In the 1990s, he loosened his grip on the country and allowed multi-party elections. However, he has remained in power ever since. President Biya has had his fair share of trouble with human rights groups from his continued repression of the people of Cameroon. Number 1. Teodoro Obiang Mbazogo. First Africa's longest serving president on our list is Teodoro Obiang Mbazogo of Equatorial Guinea. He has been in power since 1979, making him the longest serving African president. In the early years of his rule, President Obiang was known for being a brutal dictator. He oversaw a government responsible for the torture and killings of political opponents. In the 1990s, he loosened his grip on the country and allowed multi-party election. However, he has remained in power ever since. In the past few years, President Obiang has come under fire of human rights groups for his continued repression of the people of Equatorial Guinea. In 2014, there was accusation of him using the country's oil wealth to fund a lavish lifestyle for himself and his family. He has also been criticized for allegedly rigging elections to stay in power. Despite the criticism, President Obiang shows no sign of stepping down soon. Africa's longest serving presidents are a varied group, with some ruling over 3 decades, while some have used their time in power to improve the lives of their citizens. Others have become increasingly repressive and authoritarian. It will be interesting to see how power changes hands in Africa in the coming years. Will the continent's current leaders step down peacefully, or will they cling to power until the end? Only time will tell.